For real, LeBron to the Hawks would be the biggest acquisition in Atlanta sports history. Welcome back to Brave Birds DFS, one of the best places for PGA, NFL, MLB, and NBA news. If you don't know already, I'm Walt. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to my channel. So, I don't even know where to start with this. I was on Twitter and just saw this tweet. Basically, some journalists had this mock draft, and it said that Bronny James would go to the Hawks next year. And then LeBron James tweeted, yo, if Bronny goes to the Hawks, I'm there. And then Trae Young tweeted, hey, basically, we ready for you. So for people who aren't Hawks fans, this might not just seem like such a big deal. As a matter of fact, if you go to NBA.com, they list 10 teams who have never won a championship, and they don't have the Atlanta Hawks on that list because way back in the day, I'm talking about the late 1950s, when the Hawks were still in St. Louis, they actually won a championship over the Boston Celtics. Actually, in their last few years in St. Louis, they had a pretty strong rivalry with the Celtics. But that hasn't been the case since the Hawks have moved to Atlanta. So in the, what do we have here? In the 55 seasons that the Hawks have been in Atlanta, yes, they made the playoffs 36 times. That's impressive. But I put a lot of that on just really on how easy it is to make the NBA playoffs. And yes, they've won 6 division titles, very impressive. But since they have been in Atlanta, they have never made it to the NBA Finals. 55 seasons. So even though we're not on that top 10 list of NBA teams that have never made it, as far as people in Atlanta are concerned, they've been here since 1968. 55 years. They've never made it to the finals. And what would make the LeBron James thing so amazing is LeBron has always found a way to eliminate the best Hawks teams. So we go back to 2009. Hawks had an amazing season, and then they went up against the Cavs and they got swept. And then we can talk about the 2014-2015 season. Hawks won 60 games, had 4 or 5 All-Stars. I mean, we're just the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. And then they went up against LeBron James Cavs and got swept 4-0. So how personal this is for someone who is basically ruined, you could argue 2 out of the top 5 Hawks seasons in the history of the Atlanta Hawks. For him to play with us would be amazing. But it gets deeper than that. We had Michael Jordan back in the 90s. Once again, the Hawks did make the playoffs 36 out of 55 years. So Michael Jordan's Bulls twice eliminated 2 really good Hawks teams earlier in the 90s. But we can roll it back to the 80s when Dominique Wilkins went up against Larry Bird and the Celtics and brought it all the way to Game 7 in the 1987 and 1988 playoffs, only to lose. So the Hawks really symbolize what a lot of people thought of Atlanta and still kind of do, Loserville. So much so that a book was written about the sorry state of Atlanta sports. And I know what you're thinking. Well, UGA has played, obviously won back-to-back championships. Yeah, that's more of a Georgia thing. Athens is kind of an outer suburb of Atlanta, but that's more of a UGA Georgia thing. So I'm going to give, Atlanta partial credit for that. And you think about the Atlanta Braves. Well, the Atlanta Braves have won 2 World Series. Yeah, but if anybody knows the history of Atlanta and know how many Hall of Famers played for the Atlanta Braves, we probably should have 5 or 6 World Series. We know about the tragic 1991 World Series against the Twins. We were just happy to be in the World Series. And then the next year, the Blue Jays eliminated us. And then in 93, we didn't even make it because of the Phillies. And you had the strike. in 1994 where there was no World Series, and we finally won in 95. And then in 1996 we were up 2-0 on the Yankees. That was the first year Andrew Jones came up and we blew it, and then it just got really bad after 1996, and we can just a lot of sad seasons from 1996 until we finally won again 2 years ago. Granted, there was some winning, but it was just a lot of tragedy. And then we get to the Falcons. And hey, I gotta say, the Falcons, even though their history has been tragic, yes, we know the tragedy. We know what happened in 1998, not gonna even go into that. And then we know what happened the last time the Falcons made the Super Bowl. But at least they made it to the equivalent of the finals. The Hawks have never even gotten that far to do something Loserville, Atlanta tragic. So this trade, if it were to happen, free agency, whatever, it would be amazing. You would have State Farm Arena. And don't get it twisted. A lot of people talk about State Farm Arena. But what you have to understand, the Hawks have rarely given local sports fans a reason to cheer. So a lot of people don't have a strong fandom, fanatic, situation to the Hawks like they have to UGA or even the Braves, and to a lesser extent, the Falcons. Plus, kind of like DC and other cities, larger cities where you have a lot of out-of-towners that have moved here, just because people have moved to Atlanta is huge now, doesn't mean they're going to automatically start rooting for a team like the Hawks. So yes, depending on the team we're playing, sometimes the ratio of Hawks fans to out-of-town fans is not what we would like, but don't get it twisted. Most of the people at State Farm are jamming and supporting our Hawks hard. So if LeBron were to play for the Hawks, I mean, yeah, he would be older, but he would still be LeBron James. He would still be 6'8", 260 with his basketball IQ. With the stadium, with State Farm Arena sold out and rocking, that's going to add an even bigger home field advantage. So that being said, it was just one tweet. The odds of it happening are low, but they are non-zero. So let me know. Put it in the comment section. What do you think the odds of this happening? And also tell me your favorite and your saddest Atlanta Hawks season. Thank you for watching my video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and also check out these other videos right over